Welcome to a Hurricane IRMA update. It's Saturday. It's September 9th. I'm Tom. I'll be guiding you through the graphics. We're going to talk about Hurricane IRMA, which is now back to a Category 5 as it brushes along the Cuban coast. They're still waiting for that northerly turn, so the track has been adjusted and it's moved more west. And we'll be looking at that right away. Let's bring up our first graphic. And here is our 5-day cone, and they have shifted the track toward the west. So now the cone is, the track actually is showing more up the west coast of Florida than up the center of Florida. And this is because it has not made its northerly turn when they thought it was going to. And here is the data on it. It's 120 miles east-southeast of a town in Cuba that I can't pronounce. And the winds are 160 miles an hour now. That's back to Cat 5. And the pressure is 924 millibars. It's moving west still at 13 miles an hour. And they do expect it to start moving on that northwest and then northerly turn. But that has not happened. Also, when you look at this, you can see the eye is touching the edge of Cuba, and that is keeping IRMA from developing rapidly. Also, you can see there are feeder bands that are just about to come onto shore in South Florida. And so let's look at our next graphic, which is going to be our watches and warnings. And as I said at the last update, they were going to move these all north, and they did. So pretty much half of Florida is under a hurricane warning, and the northern part of Florida is under a tropical storm watch. And that will probably be moved further north as the storm moves north, and they get a little bit better handle on its speed and all that. And here is our storm surge, and that's usually the most deadly part of most storms. And on the west coast, they're showing 6 to 12 feet from Fort Myers down to South Florida. And on the east coast is 5 to 10 feet, and above Jupiter Inlet is 3 to 6. I think this is going to change because the track has moved so much further west. And here is the track, the latest one, and as you see, it has moved over to the west coast. Naples, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, on up the west coast of Florida. So if this trends this way, Tampa and that area is going to have some very heavy weather. And here is the old one. This is the last one, and you can see how much it is trended to the west. From the last one, they thought it was going to go up the middle of Florida or possibly up the east coast. And here is a picture, and you can see how the eye is touching land, and that's northern Cuba. And also you can see those spiral bands and how close they are getting to coming on shore in South Florida. And they'll be moving through the Keys sometime early this morning, Saturday morning here. Also, there's a lot of convection around the center, which means it's a very healthy hurricane. They've been out here looking at it, and they're actually looking at the pressures. It's hard to see in this, but they did find a pressure of 924 to 925 millibars, which is low and about normal for a Cat 5 hurricane. Next up, this is an updated thing on the probability of power outages, and they are up to over 2.5 million, will be affected. And normally what they mean by affected is you will not have power. So I think it's going to be much higher than that, but the computer thinks it knows best. And this is our cone for earliest arrival of tropical storm force winds, and that is probably going to be happening right about now in South Florida and the Keys, especially if you're in one of the high rises. You're probably, if you're over the fourth or fifth floor, you're probably getting those kind of winds now. And here's some at 12 a.m. Saturday morning. Miami had a 14 mile an hour wind, gust to 24. Key West had a 21 mile an hour wind with a gust to 30. And the rain bands, like I said, are just about ready to reach the coast. And when they do, they'll probably have tropical force winds in them. And if you're in a high rise, especially if you're the 10th floor and up, you're probably already getting tropical force winds now. We're going to look at a radar here, and this one is out of Miami, and you can see this is at 12:30 in the morning. The band was just about ready to move in, and that will have some heavy rain and some gusty winds, and there are more offshore that are going to rotate in as Irma moves probably to the northwest here pretty soon. We're also going to look at another graphic here when it comes up, and this is another one we have here on storm surge. Storm surge is very important in these storms, and this is a brand new one that just came out at 1 a.m. and they are showing pretty much the same. They've just extended these further north, and you can see that over in say the Tampa area is 3 to 5 feet, and a little bit above that as you go north, but still the could see 12 feet on south of Naples, and the 5 to 10 on the east coast. And this again is the track. I want to show you this one more time, and you can see that it is moved pretty far west, and they believe this is going to be pretty much the trend. Well, thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope this gave you a little information about what's going on. We're watching all the new updates. We'll have one at 2 a.m. We'll have one at 5. And if anything changes dramatically, we will get it up here on YouTube for you. So hit that subscribe, hit the like button. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments.